Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order at 5:30. And if you'll stand up, please, for the pledge of allegiance.
Well, especially fill down behind the
Because if not, we will do with phase two.
Okay.
So this will be always at the
Pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Just go ahead and read roll call. She can read roll call.
You want
Yeah, you're fine. You go ahead.
Elia Guevara,
Present.
Diana Rodriguez,
Present.
Esther Quiroga,
Present.
Rosina Silva,
Present.
Dolores Boswell,
Here.
Alice Herrera,
Here.
Francis Woroski,
Here.
Sylvia Palumbo,
Here.
Olga Gentry, Diana Espinosa,
Present.
Sandra Rocha Taylor,
Present.
Lisette Cuellar,
Here.
Maribel Garcia,
Here.
Carol Alexander,
Here.
Amber Avis,
Present.
Silvia de Leon Solis.
Present.
You have a quorum.
We have here.
Did Olga call or
Okay.
email or anything?
She emailed, I think
Not able
Tiffany.
to attend.
Yeah, she was not able.
Yeah, she called as well, that she called me that she would not be able to.
Oh, okay.
Yes, she's aware that that's her second absence, so.
Who's this?
Miss Gentry.
Oh.
Okay, and before we go into public comments, I just want to remind everybody, because I'm not sure if everyone's aware, I know some people weren't, but every one of our meetings is recorded. So it's public, they're recorded, you have access to them. If you have questions on what was discussed, you're always welcome to go back, and there's a library of all the videos. So public comments are for the general public, for those of you that are new, that if someone from the community would like to come and express a concern or an issue or bring something up to the committee, this is the part of our meeting where they are welcome. They're public meetings, so anyone can come to see a meeting. So there's no one here for public comments, we'll move on. Introduction of new commission members. So I would like to welcome Carol Alexander, and I hope you don't mind, I'll put you on the spot so you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
I didn't research. No, I'm Carol Alexander. I'm from here. I am honored to be a part of the Laredo Commission for Women, and I hope that I spoke with Mr. Valdez about what the objective is for the commission, and that it's to recognize women. And then I read some of the applications, so there were amazing women that are recognized and honored as the Hall of Fame. And I saw that there's outreach, maybe.
Yes.
So I'm interested in that. And I'm from here. I went to school here. I'm a local, I'm a real estate appraiser and consultant.
Great, and you're representing which council member?
George Alder.
Georgia, very good, well, welcome. Our next new member is Amber Avis, and you share a little bit of yourself.
My name is Amber. I am an accountant and financial advisor here in town. Hopefully by July I'll be Laredo's first female certified financial planner.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm rocking and rolling in Laredo and trying to get as many women activities and women financial education back to our community. And I also just bought a property downtown, so I'm working on the redevelopment of downtown and just trying to see where I can make the biggest impact.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
Welcome.
I'm representing Rudy Gonzalez.
Okay, thank you. And then Sylvia de Leon Solis.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for, it's an honor to be here with all of you. I'm originally from Brownsville, and my husband is the president of Laredo College, and just helping him get through, learning. I feel I'm at home because Brownsville is very similar to Laredo. I just found out that I knew Senator Taylor Rocha from my previous job at IBC Brownsville. She was my auditor, and I worked in accounting. So I developed a friendship with her, and I just realized that. And so in my several jobs, I do have my PhD from UT Austin, as my husband does. However, I don't want to be a president. I want him to go for, he's more presidential than I am, and I'm more on the back end. But I'm really happy to be here with all of you and helping with Leadership for Women.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, welcome, ladies, and you're just coming into the busy season for us where we are working on our Hall of Fame event. And we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. So we'll move on to approval of the February 11th, 2019 minutes, which you should have stapled to your agenda.
Is there a discussion?
There's February.
Attached to the packet.
And then we have March. Are you gonna hand out March?
No, March will be in May. Tiffany, I know
Yeah,
that
we
you had
didn't
sent
put them
it
in
and
the
she just
agenda.
overlooked it. So,
I already had run them off.
right, oh, you had read them off?
I had
There's
given
copies, we
everything.
can pass them out.
Yeah, but it's not on the agenda, so.
Has to be on the agenda.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
It says February.
we'll approve the next meeting.
The February one?
Yes. Well, the only ones that are here are for approval of the February ones.
Do you have copies of the February one that she was looking for right now?
Yes, I need to refer to them for this meeting.
For the February?
Of the March.
Oh, March.
Yeah, that's not my question.
That we didn't make quote?
No,
It
I
says,
didn't.
well, the quorum was not met, thus meeting adjourned at
Yeah,
5:32.
there was no
So there was no
quorum.
meeting in March?
No, we had one, it was a special meeting.
Oh,
that-
Yeah, special
okay.
call
And then the other one was
Those are the
one.
minutes that you have, correct?
Yes, I don't have them.
No, we don't have them
Tiffany
with
has
us.
them.
Okay.
March the 4th is the one that you don't have.
With us here now.
Okay, that's the ones I read
And they're
off.
not for approval on the agenda.
Okay.
We forgot to put them.
This is March.
Okay.
Just the February one, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I have a question then.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to question Joe. Can you please clarify, when did a year start for all the members to start counting, if you will? Officially, you have 3 unexcused, all absence will be unexcused? And when did they start? Did they start in January?
It was this January, but I know, just as of today, I know Councilman Torres actually put an item to address that, because I think it's affecting a lot of committees.
Yeah.
And so I think they're gonna revisit that. I don't know what they're
Okay.
gonna do or the
Okay.
intentions, but I know he's gonna have an item for this coming meeting.
Oh, okay, I was just gonna ask, because I wanted to clarify mine, but.
No, it starts every January again. The clock
I
starts
think it's a
ticking.
good rule, though. It gets people to
Yeah, for the
count.
most part, yeah.
Yeah, but if it's spring break and you're
Yeah.
out of town.
Yeah, or summer, or
Yeah,
summer.
I mean,
yeah.
I know, but
Officially,
that's
but-
why you have 3. You have 3.
But again, you have
Yeah.
summer, you have holidays, you
We
could
have
get
some, yeah.
sick, you have
Right.
commitments, so, you know.
I think it
I don't
should
know
be
what they're gonna
addressed.
do, but
I think
I
we should
know.
be
It's
addressed
addressed.
too. I support
We're gonna
that.
discuss it again.
If there is an item on the agenda for Councilman Torres, maybe some of us would like to address the council because, like we mentioned, some are teachers, they have vacations, some take
And I
longer
think that's the
medical
concern.
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah. I
He
agree.
hasn't told me, he did text me once and asked if it was being effective, and I said, well, I mean, people are showing up because they really have to, but sometimes you're sacrificing because you have other things to do, and I understand also that you can't make every single meeting.
Is Councilman Torres going to be taking ideas from this group or from any other group, or is he just going to come up with this list? And the reason I'm asking is
Mhm.
because in other organizations that I belong to, we can conference in. You know, we can actually get on our phone, dial in the number, we can hear what's going on, and even vote that way. We do it for Water Region and HMR.
No, I don't think you're allowed to do like proxy or
Oh, you
to call in or anything like that. You have to be here.
So,
I think any councilman takes any opinion from anybody. I mean,
Okay.
you can approach your own councilman also
Okay.
and suggest things, and they can place items on the
So,
agenda.
Sylvia has a comment.
I would like to be recognized, please, Madam Chair. I was just going to ask, are you discussing the fact of our absences? Is that what you're saying, that there's going to be before the city council?
I don't know exactly what the issue is. I just know that there's gonna be an item.
Maybe I can shed some light on that. I was visiting with one of the city attorneys, and they said that if we did not have something in place, then we would have to abide by the rules of the city, whatever they have. But that we would be able to make our own rules on that. That's what I
What
was
is the
told.
council?
What if they,
Okay,
if I
well,
may call to
agenda.
order, if I may call to order, there is actually an ordinance, which, an ordinance means it's the law of the land for the city. So the ordinance says at this time that you have 3 absences and you're off of
Is
the
that,
committee.
is that true for the council
That's
members as
true
well?
for, that's true for the committees.
The committee.
I don't know
What about the
council.
council?
No, that's
They have their.
They're voting, they had a Peters?
There
No,
is,
but they have to attend.
No.
regular-
Okay, I'll
No?
recognize Mr. Valdez.
Okay.
okay. The city council, they fall under the charter, and there's a procedures there also. They cannot miss more than 6 absences in a calendar year. And they discussed that when they initially started this ordinance. And at the end of the day, they said, well, for the committees, we have too many absences, let's be a little bit more strict. And so it's just 3. I know, like I said, I saw the agenda because I got an email, please place this item. It just wasn't to me, it was to city manager's office, that they also set up the agenda. They're the other ones that set up the agenda, but he emailed me also. And it just stated something about the 3 absences section of the ordinance. Now, what Sylvia was saying was that if the commission or committee or board was not created by ordinance, if they're created by ordinance, which this group or this commission was not, in the ordinance, normally it'll tell you how many absences, how to figure that out. So if your committee was created by an ordinance, that supersedes this ordinance, because in this ordinance it says, if you're created by ordinance, your rules apply. Don't apply these. But if you're not, if it was created by a motion or a resolution, which I think this one was created by motion, then this ordinance applies, and that's why it applies to this group.
Yeah, may I add something, please? I do know that some of the committees are not following this ordinance, if you will, and there's been exceptions for the same reasons. We agree and we disagree, but I feel, and I know other people do, that should be reconsidered. So I'm glad that it's being put in, again, into the city council so they can review and change it or whatever they're gonna decide to do. But I do know that it is not applicable in every organization.
For
Can
the
we get
reasons
a
I
legal
just stated.
opinion, or legal, from
So
somebody
then,
from legal?
Mr. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry,
Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to say, because I did visit with a city official from the legal department. And they did, because I did mention, I said, we have this, that we have to be there, if we're not there, even if we're sick, or if our child is sick, what do we have, I mean, something happens and.
Maybe that's why
you
they're
have to be
revisiting
there,
it.
if not, you're gonna be
So I don't know what their thought process is and what they're gonna discuss, but I know it's on the agenda. You all are welcome to go.
Okay, so we can check on that then, Joe, if we don't have to
I don't know
follow
if he's
the
gonna tell me
city,
though.
then we can make our own, because that's what I was told, that you yourselves vote on how y'all wanna do it, as long as you all
If you
abide by
wanna do an
that.
ordinance, the
Yeah, but I'd
council
rather
will do an
comply with
ordinance.
whatever the council decides to do with all the
I
city.
just leave it like
entities
that.
So I have a, so basically what you're saying, because we don't fall under the same structure as other committees, we can create something for our own committee?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay,
She
so
said that.
clarify.
No.
I said it because that's the way they told me with the city.
Right.
I did clarify it with that person who's incidentally the top there. And I said, then you all, if you don't have something in place, then you have to abide. But you can make your own rules and do whatever you all, as long as all of you vote on it and abide by them.
Okay,
And
and
you
then
know
go
that,
back
and
and
Mr.
Okay.
Valdez stated that first, if it was created by that, the way, where we can add our own rules, then we
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah.
But since this was created by the council, right now we cannot, we
There's-
must follow that
There's
ordinance.
ways of
unless
creating
it's-
boards, commissions,
Yeah.
and committees. One way is through a motion, basically saying we want to create, like they just recently created, the city manager's ad hoc committee. So that was just created by a motion, it wasn't an ordinance, it wasn't law. So they created it, that committee or that commission has to fall under this ordinance, because they don't have an ordinance guiding them. So this, my understanding, this group was, or this commission was created through a motion, which basically means it's not a law, and so you fall under the law of this ordinance, and that's why it's been applied to the group, the way it has been. And several committees, there's planning and zoning is created by state law and the charter, and so that one has its own ordinances, and so that one doesn't fall under this, or under the rule that we're following. And that's the difference. I just don't want to deviate too much from the agenda. I know
No,
we're
I understand.
approving the
Yeah.
minutes, so we're going into other conversations. But if y'all have any questions, I mean, you can contact me, and I'll try to answer them as best as possible.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
So then I move to accept the minutes for February 11th, 2019 as is.
A second?
I have a correction on item number 4. Mercurio Martinez dismissed, but we need to add a Z.
Oh,
Oh, wonderful, okay, right there.
That's it.
the motion and the second as amended?
As amended.
My second.
Yeah.
Who seconded it? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, we were two of us at the same time, so it doesn't matter.
No, but I have to have it on record.
Oh, it was Diana and myself. We both did it at the same
Diana
time.
Rodriguez.
So-
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, next item on the agenda is the status report on the submitted applicants for the 2019 Hall of Fame event with possible action in any other matters, incidents. There, yes, sir.
I'm passing out a letter that was submitted, I placed this item because, and this was, I think, the letter that was mentioned by Councilman Torres at the meeting, but we didn't have quorum, so I didn't give it to everybody. But it's basically saying that he's talked to the nominees, which were Miss Ana Galo and Miss Cynthia Collazo, and they've decided not to participate in being recognized.
Was it the
So-
council members' decision to remove the applications, or was it their individual?
Both. He spoke to them and,
Agreement.
The reason why we asked, I will share with you, is that Ms. Collazo
I know
was
was nominated by
by
Irma.
someone else
but
as well.
she supposedly said that she está de acuerdo not to be recognized at this time
But what about Ana Galo?
also.
Just like that?
And I talked to Ms. Hale, she approached me and told me.
But she has office, she has an office, right? That's the reason she pulled out, right?
Well,
Ana Galo doesn't have an
No.
office.
She is
no,
part of a
I haven't
commission
spoken
though.
to her.
Or she
And-
is part of the
A meeting.
commission?
And
Well, they
yet-
had been approved already, but if
Yeah.
he chooses.
They chose not to
Yeah.
participate.
Yeah.
And the other person that also
I'm not to be
chose,
recognized.
the other person that also chose not to participate was Miss Hale. She did not, Christina Hale,
Uh-huh.
Laura Hale.
Ah,
I kind of joked with her and said, hey, congratulations, kind of just joking with her. And she's like, what are you talking about? I said, well, you were nominated. And she's like, no, I'm not. I said, yeah, you were. And you're chosen, and I mean, it's not official till council votes on it, but I think that your application was approved. And she says, no. Since she makes rulings for the commission,
Right.
all the commission
Yeah, I
says,
understand
at
that.
this time I feel it's a conflict, so I'd
Yeah.
rather not be nominated or approved. So she's requesting that she not be selected also.
Right.
And I said,
Come on.
well, since they're requesting it, then I move that to accept the request to have those 3 applications withdrawn from the.
From the
Hall of
pool.
Fame.
I would like, is there any way that we can ask Ms. Hale to just give it to us in writing, just so we
Well,
can?
I'll ask her, I'll get something from her,
Thank you.
and I'll present it to her, but I'll send it through the email.
Okay,
a
is
copy
there a
of it.
second?
No, I have discussion. So just to know, on the status of the submitted applications, who was accepted and who will be recognized?
Well, I think we're gonna go.
Is that an item?
We're gonna go
Yeah,
through
We
that.
already voted on who we had accepted, so.
I think there's a question about that though, Sandra, so when we go into it, we have a couple of questions.
So we did
Well,
motion
Can we take a
second.
motion?
I
and
second the
that was
motion.
seconded.
Vote on this one, and then we'll get back to
Yes.
revisit
Okay,
this.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll say,
Sylvia. Motion carries. Okay, so those 3 were eliminated.
And I don't have the full list. I know some of the members, the new members had asked, and I think we had emailed everybody so you could review some
Yeah,
of the
we
list.
sent everybody the applications, and that was
And they can
basically
write
everybody.
And then you
And-
also together.
Yeah,
Um,
but I sent it to everyone so you could review them in case you had any questions.
Yeah, we submitted the list at this last meeting, and they were approved. But we don't want to discuss the names because they need to go to city council.
Oh,
So-
they haven't gone to
So-
city council.
No.
Since
so
we-
that's
The
it.
final approval is city council.
And I thought it was gonna be in that meeting and.
Well, we had hoped, but there were other issues that came up.
I'd
Okay.
like to say something though. We just received a link to the applications. We just saw the link, we just saw the applications, so how could they be approved? But
Because we
aside from
already,
that,
we had
let me-
our.
let me-
Well, we're not
May I-
approving, we're recommending, right?
we're recommending,
We're
that is the
recommending,
whole
okay.
key to it.
If I may,
Council.
if I may, have the floor as.
May I finish? Because
I was commenting. In reference to the, after reviewing and opening the applications, there's some questions that are concerning, some of the applications were not completed fully. Some of the applications did not have a category that they wanted to go into. So that was gonna be my next question. We, from what we understand, clarification, we approved the applications, but they have not been selected. That was my
By
next
council.
question. By us as well.
Okay,
No,
well,
no,
just to
we-
clarify, we did bring up all the applicants here. We had a selection committee. They met twice. We reviewed, we brought it to the committee, and we all voted on everything here. So they've already been selected. We asked people not to say who had been selected. Unfortunately, the news did get out. So some people kind of know that their applications went in and that they're pending approval with city council. So everybody knows that. And everything will continue on because we already have the selection.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I have to go back to that. It was understood, and this is some of the feedback that we got, it was a recommendation because a lot of us did not even have a chance to look at the applications, even though the selection committee recommended there was no criteria. And there seemed to be confusion as to that selection. And basically, there was, yes, they do, no, they don't, we have no criteria, what do we do? And if one of my council member did not agree with the fact that there was no criteria, and I have a statement that I'm gonna read in a little bit, but there was no criteria in the selection of these nominees. This is a very prestigious award. I mean, we did past selection committees, we referred to previous selection committees, and they guided us and told us how they did it, and that's what we followed. This is not an award that you just give because you don't have a criteria and you allow applications that are not complete, you allow errors that are going in, all of that is automatic disqualification. And that was one of the things my council member mentioned. What criteria was used?
But with that being said, when you're speaking about criteria, what the council wants is for something to be in place, like what you had recommended in your committee. So you can't say that this is this year. Every other year, there's nothing been in writing for a criteria.
But we had criteria. We visited
No,
with
but there has to be-
previous.
there has to be-
No.
Well,
Because
there
every
was-
year in the past, allow me to say that because we were in the selection committee for 2 years. We referred, we consulted with previous selection committee members and we followed those guidelines.
But what
To
guidelines?
not, the guidelines, well, they're very clear. The guidelines are very clear and I'll go over them in a minute.
We did consult with other previous people
You
that
did
had
not
been on
mention that.
selection committees.
You did not mention, you didn't consult with us and we were in it.
But there's
Well, there are other people.
I totally understand.
We're not in this committee.
I totally understand. No,
Alice, I recommend-
I'm very clear on that.
I'm going to
But-
recognize Alice. Go ahead.
As one of the oldest members in this committee, we've never had a defined criteria for selecting these women. We've only had our bylaws that were approved many, many years ago when Dr. Cecilia Moreno was on the board, city council.
She's the one who brought the idea to them.
So the members have always had to go through what the application criteria describes. Everyone has access to this application, everyone's read the application. Every single category has definition of what that category entails. The selection committee meets, it's made up between 3 to 4 women of this group because sometimes we have an enormous amount of applications and sometimes we don't. What it entails is you get the application and you follow what the application asks for. Did it get submitted on time? Number one. Number two, did it have the information as far as the application is filled, contact, references, things like that? Then you just go down the line of the application. This is a simple, basic criteria. Yes, you can bring one and you can share for the new members who might not have seen one. Then the committee starts, organizing themselves. They start separating
Bring several, please.
them by categories, whoever applied in certain categories. The committee meets, reviews these applications, and they start going through it. Sometimes what happens, and it's the discretion of the committee, is that you have more than one applicant that really, really is deserving of this, of being recognized as a Hall of Famer. So what the committee has the option to do is to recommend to the whole commission of selecting more than one person for one particular category. There have been in past more than one nominee for the same category. There has been sometimes that it's very minimal, and sometimes the applications, because they're so minimal and they're all maybe in the same category, yet when the committee meets and they read the criteria, they have, for example, a nurse nominated for education because she works at the school. But when you see the nurse, she's done so much volunteering at the hospitals, at these other organizations, that falls in a different type of category than the category that she was selected in. The committee considers, well, you know what? We have 3 for this category, but I really, the committee feels that this person really belongs over here because all the backup on this application fits them on this criteria more than what it was applied. The committee has that discretion to change what they were nominated for. Like I said, this is what the committee is allowed to do, and then of course the commission approves or not. Unfortunately, like it was said, we've never had defined criteria until this year that they're actually, I must say, they're finally listening to us, because this criteria that we've asked to meet as a committee, we've worked on this for the past 3 or 4 years. Because we've had issues within the past 3 to 4 years. We've had issues where a city council member was nominated and it kind of looked weird. We've had issues when a commission member has nominated someone and it kind of looks weird. Things like that. So that's why we have been trying to get these criterias done and detailed, and finally it's going to get done. Well, hopefully, and we'll follow through. But we've been in this situation before. I'm sorry. I've been here, 15 years, and we've been through this. And previously, as the original commission, there was actually 15 categories to be selected from. And because they were so broad and so many, the commission decided to bring them down and narrow it down and I believe there's only 7 categories now. Like some of them kind of meant the same thing, the little criteria, the definition of it, they followed within the same, so they were put together. So like I said, it has been that there really isn't any criteria, only what the application says. So the committee reviews what the application defines, what the criteria that they were nominated in, or the category they were nominated fits in.
Allison, whose job is it to set the criteria? Is it the committee or?
Well, at this time, it was, now we're trying to do it as a group.
In other words, to set up a.
Right, as a group. There's a committee. Right.
But see, when we met as a committee, and you're looking at the applications, we divided it by categories, and some people put multiple categories, but we still put it on the first one that they put. When we couldn't cut anybody out is because, like Hashia mentioned, I need to have a criteria, because if someone calls Mr. Valdez and wants to know why they weren't selected and they want their application back, I need to have a measure. I can't just say, I got together.
There has to be a rubric.
And we don't have one. That's why, how can I remove anybody when I have no rubric?
When I recommended that, I wasn't talking about having a completed application, girls, right? I was talking about developing specific criteria, and we've already discussed some of it. When we had a little meeting after the special call meeting, and I have to put it together, but it's not exhaustive yet. It's not about just defining the criteria, but having a Likert scale so that we can rate independently the applications, and then we can do an average of the total score, many different things that will give us that inter-rater reliability that we need. We do not have that. And so that's when I mentioned that any nominee that was nominated that didn't get it could conceivably come and challenge the commission.
And see the rubrics.
Yeah, but maybe, I don't know if to see it, but so much as to share where they rank according to the other members. The other people.
Because in the past, because
And
I,
have they in the past, excuse me, have they in the past come and said, why was I not selected?
thank goodness,
I mean, I would
no.
think fair.
No one has never done that because as part of previous selection committees, I haven't been on one in the past 2 years, but previous selection committees, I've always been involved. One of the things that we would always discuss was when they gave the application, the information that they submit, the person who's doing the application. A lot of times, unfortunately, it's just this application and that one page. And then there's another applicant that puts in newspaper articles, awards, binders. And that's what you want. You want to see what this person is giving back to the community. But they were narrowing it down to just the application, so that started, questioning. But in the past, some of the main reasons why we've eliminated some is because incomplete applications. They didn't follow what they were supposed to do. They didn't meet the timeline. So that made it, those little things made it easy for the committee to eliminate that application.
And I agree with you. I totally agree with you. When we did it the last 2 years, we even had applicants that had, just because, whatever the application was. And then we had applicants that were extremely outstanding and they had all the support. Well, it's a no-brainer. At that point, you can't compare just because, or because this person has really been involved and they do all these things and have proof. So that's what we based it on, and the selection was not easy, but that's what was based on.
Yes, ma'am.
How did we select a lady this year who had blanks on their application?
Yes, that's what I was about to say.
See, these applications, there was one applicant that the category was on all the submitted information, very clearly.
But did we decide they were going to, some of them have like 2 categories?
And that's what we.
And then
And some had
in their
3.
different pages, they would put like, well, these are my accomplishments under volunteer. These are my accomplishments under this. These are my accomplishments under that. It was.
So I'm gonna, let me just share something with you, okay? Everybody has an application? Okay. So,
Ms. Taylor,
Yes,
if I
sir.
may, I had a question. I guess we're discussing that. Do the applicants, somebody submits information on someone's behalf? No,
well,
nominating
that's
the
what I was
person.
gonna state, and if I may,
And so sometimes they might not have all the information, but what
Correct.
they have is what they submit.
correct.
And so, do the applicants at some point, hey, you're being nominated, submit more information so we can consider you, or that doesn't happen? I'm confused.
Well, some of them are surprises. Some of the
Well, Ms. Hale didn't know,
applicants
so she
did
was
not
fine.
know that they were being
Not a surprise,
nominated.
it's done.
I know of at least 3 that did not know they were being nominated, and the person nominating didn't want to let them know until, they were already
They were accepted
considered.
or not.
So they're going by what they have, but let me state to you something here, okay? When you read number 5, and it reads, what significant accomplishments make this candidate one of Laredo's most outstanding women? Maximum 1/2 typewritten page, maximum, not minimum, maximum. The reason why I stress that is because that's the same for number 5 and number 6. If somebody follows these instructions, raise your hand how many of you here could put down your accomplishments in 1/2 typewritten page, or would you need more?
No, if you're a good writer, you can do it in 1/2 page. You don't want them to ramble on and on.
Okay.
But then we also need to be specific. Is it single space? Is it double space? What's the font size? You know what I mean? Because single, half a page could be
But-
tiny, or it could be,
Yes.
it's gotta be more
Okay, but my
specific.
point is, some people were looking at, in the past, have looked at how much was submitted. If you look at it that way, by
Quantity,
volume,
not quality.
exactly.
No, but here it
wait.
says documents, when you say that, I believe you're referring to the documents and articles and newspaper and clippings. All of that is here, that's why they were able to submit what they did versus someone who didn't submit anything.
I need to say something. You've already made the selection,
Yes.
or you categorized certain applications. Some of that information has leaked out into the community, you all have voiced that, right? So at this point, I don't see us turning back.
No.
We have to continue the way we were. The initial charge was for establishing a committee, and I'm chairing that committee, and then Elia and Esther and Sylvia are part of that committee.
Yes.
We're trying to come up with criteria,
For
but
the
I don't
council.
know at this point, just a moment, I don't know if it's gonna be the committee's work to be presented to the council, to you all first and then the council, or is it the council member Albert Torres, because it is my understanding, he mentioned something about developing something his own. So that's why I stopped, ladies, because I need to make sure if Albert Torres is gonna do it, that's fine. Then we need to like wait for his input, or we're gonna continue. But these applications, this is our work, Sylvia. We're just going around and
But may I
around.
have to respond for my council member, because I
Yes.
did talk to him
Okay.
even before the meeting, but I wanted to go back. Right now, we're discussing status report on the submitted applications. That's what we're discussing. We're in number 7. So this is why we're bringing out the applications, and it states on the application clearly, state candidates category for nomination must be designated or the nominee will be disqualified. And they were talking about that right now, and that, there's one application that doesn't have that.
It's designated on the paperwork.
But it's not on the
application.
application.
It's
Oh.
I'm not
Well.
gonna disqualify them because it's not there,
But
but
it's
it's
up
on
to the
the
committee,
paperwork.
but okay.
And it was up to our selection committee and we approved it.
Okay, may I ask her, I wasn't
say-
here because I wanted, you asked about Mr. Torres.
No, I didn't
No,
ask
no,
about him.
Mr.
All I'm
Valdez
saying
would
is
like to
that
address
if
that.
who's gonna be in charge, if it's the council member,
Okay.
yes, my respect for that, for him to come up with, if that's what he wants to do and then share it with us, then that's
Yeah.
great. That relieves us of a lot of
Yeah, because he was
responsibility.
concerned about.
Or we do it
No
and then
criteria.
present it to him and then the rest
Right,
of the
that's
board.
how it's going.
So whichever way,
Okay.
it doesn't matter to me.
Mr. Valdez?
Could you clarify?
For the last meeting, council gave a directive to staff to develop some ordinance that would deal with some of these issues, to have clarification of what is it that you look at in the applications, black and white, hopefully there's no gray areas, and that way from here on out, that would be the way to grade the applications or the people, the candidates for the nominations, or nominees. Part of it was that once staff, and staff I mean the legal department, we're not involved in that. The legal department is right now under the process of putting together all of that. By the same token, I had mentioned to them that the commission had already started looking at the criteria, and my understanding was that I think you all are ready to put something together, or you already have it.
We're working on it, yes.
And so it'll take a little bit for staff to put the ordinance together, but they asked if they have something, provide it to us so we can try to include it. And that way, part of the ordinance, it might be that, or it might be a hybrid where they might change something, but it'll basically be what this commission's asking to be considered. Now, that doesn't mean at the end of the day, because remember, council has the final say-so on everything.
Absolutely.
And so what's presented to them as an ordinance, they might say, well, instead of giving a 10-point system, let's do a 5-point system, or something, I'm just saying,
Yeah, right.
an example.
Right.
But there will be input from you all, and it's not Councilman Torres by himself, he'll have input,
Right.
and all the councilmen are gonna have input.
That's great, I think that's
And
great.
so,
More than
but
maybe,
staff right now, legal department's developing the ordinance. When that's ready for us to consider, the commission, we'll probably have to have a special meeting because they'd like to implement it sooner than later.
Sir, when you say ordinance, are you talking about the specific form that we will be using to rank the
City
application?
council, whereas they feel that this is required, whereas, it's a whole law.
No, specifically.
And then within that law,
But it's like the form that we're trying to work on.
that'll
Is
be your
that
Bible,
correct?
that'll be your guide.
Okay.
That-
It is that they
Then it
make
seems to me that we
that.
should be meeting with the legal counsel, the legal department a little bit more
Well,
closely.
they're
No,
putting,
we can't.
well,
But when you submit your.
what's gonna happen is legal's working on it, and once they're ready to present it, they're gonna give me a copy, and they're gonna come and present it to you all. But if we can deal, because I know, I had heard that maybe criteria is ready, so that's why I placed the item, just to make sure if we have something,
They want.
and you all vote on it, we can present it to them and they can start.
Well,
But when that item comes up,
well, we appreciate you giving us that option, and you all can continue moving forward on your selection criteria, and that way they can look at that.
Yeah.
But for now, Ms. Dolores, yes?
can I have clarification on what you're talking about, these revisions? Because in viewing those links that you sent us, they kept on referencing private events, a bigger deal, the Laredo way, target audiences, what's being done in San Antonio, so structure, that we're lacking structure. So are they referring to the event not having structure because it was moved to another date and then they were talking about April and now it's,
I assume
or
that's
were
the
they
case.
talking about
It sounded like
criteria?
they were talking about the whole organization,
So, I
unfortunately.
mean, they were going all over the
Yeah,
board.
they were going all over the
So
board.
I'm
I think they had misinformation to begin with,
confused.
so they had bad information and they were working off of that.
And-
So
and-
unfortunately, you know,
The ordinance
I
is-
wish they would have come here to talk to us before bringing it up at council, because when, well, we'll get to that, but
I mean, because they even were talking about having the young ladies as the target audience. They took away our young
Correct.
ladies.
Yes.
You know, and it's
I
like,
stressed that to them.
I think what it was is, it was, and no disrespect, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Madam Chair, it was miscommunication on both ends. Sandra hasn't been here long enough to know what we have gone through with what was done in the prior years, what city attorney, previous city attorney made us do because we didn't have enough funds. There was no funds in the city council. They made us fundraise. They weren't, they didn't know that. Miss Taylor she wasn't here when that happened, so she couldn't give that information. That criteria on being selective, she wasn't here prior. Things that, the money, they were commenting that we were misspending city monies on shirts, which they didn't understand that they told us that we had so much time to have zero balance in our account.
And that was
Because we
the
can no
money you
longer,
raised.
because we no longer could fundraise, that we should have never fundraised. So like I mentioned, she wasn't very familiar with our history. I'm sorry, Ms. Taylor.
No, that's-
And the council and Mr. Torres were not familiar with
They
our
made us
history.
look like a bunch
So
of
I'll be
confidence.
honest.
Yes.
Yes.
But I'm gonna have to
Because
add
of the
to that,
miscommunication.
Alex,
Because of the
I will add to that
miscommunication.
because Mr. Torres keeps on being brought up. He watches every commission woman meeting. So there is no, well, let me finish. There is no misinformation on his end. Feel free to talk about anyone else, but he watches every commission meeting and he's the one that called me and asked me the question which I answered about the criteria, and he said, are you all, what's going on? And I said, well, we're trying to work on it. So that's what I wanted to
But if
add.
he watches the videos, he would have known why we had it at the max.
He
I
wa-
was
well-
there and he was looking at me like, why are y'all having it at the max distance? And I'm like, that was the only
I'm
option we
telling
had.
you, he watches
But
every
no,
commission
it's on the
meeting.
video, but he told us
Like
that
again,
we need lighter in the max, so don't say he watches all the
Well,
videos.
he does watch it. No, I'm gonna tell you what he told me, honey.
Alice has the floor.
In speaking with Councilman Torres, I spoke to him as well. I did speak with him as well, and I did advise how some of our information, like I said, a lack of communication, because on both ends. Because I saw that video and I tried to rush to get there on time. Unfortunately, I got there after the fact, so I wasn't able to clarify a lot of things to council. These meetings, I have to correct, just started being recorded.
Right.
We've never had recorded meetings, so he's not aware of what has happened in the past.
Right.
So it's only recently.
Yeah, that's why I'm
So
saying
it's only recent
when
that
they gave
he's
us the
aware.
options for the max in the library, that was in the video. Because we wanted to have it somewhere else, and right, y'all told us, we can only have it at the max. So when he's there, he's like, why are y'all having it at the max? It's so far, and we're like, that's the only options we got from the city.
I think we just keep going over the same thing. I
That's what I
think
said, it's just
Councilman Torres
communication.
recommended that him and the legal department were gonna come up with something. My question would be, can we email our things that we come up as a committee to the legal department for your consideration?
Yeah, we'll forward it to them. We want to make sure
Okay.
whatever they're going to come up with, we're going
Whatever
to bring
we
it back
do,
to
we
you all.
can copy Sandra, we'll copy the legal department.
You're all okay with it.
Yes,
But I think we're just rehashing to see who can win the race here.
For the first
And, yeah,
time
I
this
think-
year, we decided to create a selection criteria.
Yes.
In
That's
writing.
good.
And so Diana is heading that committee, and part of her committee are Esther and Sylvia,
And then,
Elia.
just hold on it.
I was not because unfortunately, I can probably work on it now until probably May. I could, but I can't go beyond May.
Okay, Alice, and I think
Alice would help.
Liz, did you
Okay.
want to serve on that committee as well? Or if anybody
You
else?
wanna be in our committee? That'd be great, yes.
Amber,
So
would
we'll
you like to
include
be
you,
on that
Amber.
committee?
Yes, I was gonna make a recommendation. I think that as of right now, the selection committee just needs to move forward and
Yes,
make to
absolutely,
the best
I
of their
agree.
ability. And next year,
Implement that.
we should vote on who is on this selection committee.
Yes.
And then the selection committee keeps it private until they're ready to present to the commission. We vote yes or no.
To the
Which
council.
we did,
Oh,
remember,
yeah.
and I
And then
appreciate
take it
Yes,
to council.
that's exactly what we did, and it came here, and we all, as a commission, already voted to accept them, and so that's why we're moving forward.
Okay, you make a motion?
Around.
I have something, okay.
Yes, Ms. Rodriguez.
What Amber just mentioned was exactly what we had discussed prior to you being here.
Yeah, I think March 4th.
Yes, and just to clarify, Mr. Valdez, this criteria that's coming about is not gonna pertain to the ones that we have for this year.
Right.
So this is just so everybody in the commission can be on the same page, that whatever was already selected,
Yes, absolutely.
that is already in place.
Yes.
No, we're gonna change it and, oh no.
Well, unless
this
the
one isn't
council
good because of- no.
tells us otherwise.
Well, yeah, exactly what.
If the council tells us otherwise,
Because we
we have
had
to do
mentioned
it.
the motion was that it was gonna be for the following time.
Yeah.
Wasn't it, am I correct or am I wrong?
I don't remember there was a motion, but
Yeah.
council's, once the ordinance is in place, that's a new,
Right, but
Yeah, that'll be
right,
probably for
whenever
next
that
year.
happens.
if I could, I just want to clarify a couple of things. Prior to this year, the commission never took the nominations to council and told them,
This
we'd
is
like
the
for
first
you
time.
to approve that. All of that changed, so this year, and that's, we talked about this last year when we we're doing this. You have to take whatever the commission votes on for council final approval, no matter what it
For
is.
what reason, Mr. Valdez?
They,
Because of the funding or?
well, no, it's just, over the years, the commission has, basically makes a lot of decisions, and you're an advisory to the council.
Yes.
In the past, it's always voted on who they select, and they invite the council to show up. And so again, we talk about, different officials in different positions, I'm not talking about the council, I'm talking about like the attorneys and city managers. Everybody's different, has a different thought process. And so basically what we were told is, they're an advisory board or commission, they have to advise council. And so even right now, we're saying move forward with the applications that have been approved. That's gonna go to council. Now, at the end of the day, council might say,
Yeah.
we don't really feel this person, and which I doubt it, but you never know. Until it happens, it happens. They're
So
approved.
basically what you're saying, it's a recommendation.
Yes.
Everything from this commission is a
This
recommendation.
started last year or this year? This year.
This
year.
This October,
This year.
Yeah, this past October kind of
Like-
started.
like-
October
we need-
fiscal year.
As a committee, look at all the applications, we bring the recommendations here. As a commission, we vote on them, and
And
then
then the
whatever we
commission's
vote,
recommendation is to
recommend
council.
to city council, but they can say, oh, I don't want this, or. I
Yeah,
don't
and
want
that's-
that.
And that's their prerogative.
Yeah, and
That's their
their-
prerogative.
that's
They
their
can do that.
prerogative.
In the past,
It
it was not done like
It has
that.
never been.
Once, yeah, it was never done like that.
This is
And
the
how
first
many
time.
years has it been?
Since
15?
20
years.
It's over 20 years.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
it's 23rd year?
Something like that. And so it's never been done like that. And so this is the first year, and this
It's
is
the first time.
new obstacles that we have to get through. And so like the bylaws, we've never had an ordinance, and so that's gonna be in place, basically kind of hopefully clearing up any opinions. In other words, this is it, this is how you're gonna grade everybody from here on out. Now, we want the commission to have the input, and that's why we're gonna bring back that ordinance once it's developed by legal. If there's section, let's say you're looking at 10 different type of criteria that you want to include, you already did 4 or 5, vote on those for right now, so we can give them to legal, and we're adding more. That way, when the ordinance comes around, it's already done, you know? And then, that way, we're gonna bring it back to you all, you have input still, and there might be other issues that they're looking at from other cities or whatever. And so, that's all gonna be presented to you. With your opinion, of course, at the end of the day, council can change or agree or disagree, but that's how we're doing this, this is how it's structured now. And so from here on out, that's the way it is. As far as, why do we do it at the max, was Mr. Valdez gave us those options? Yeah, those were the options the city manager told me
Right,
to
but that's what
do.
I'm saying, it's.
No, and
unfair, like,
I'm just saying,
it's fair.
but not everybody understands that. well, no, well, I don't
Well,
wanna say
the
understands that.
manager gave you those options,
Yes.
not the council.
No.
That's probably why he
No.
didn't know about
No,
it.
he didn't know,
but
and
it was
that's what I'm saying, I'm not
here, so
blaming
it's
him for not
recorded.
knowing, I'm just saying that he wasn't aware that that was instructions from us. And then we're also told, we're cutting across the board, and that was a motion, by Councilwoman, let's cut 5% across the board from everywhere, all the budgets. And so that's why we said, you know what, if we're gonna do it at the max, maybe we can do with the money that we have. Then the other instruction was, there was about $1,000 still left in the fundraising account. Let's just combine both and let's just move forward, and that's the budget for this year, which is about $4,600. Council at the meeting on,
10,000.
yes, they raised it to 10,000, including the 4,000 we already have. No, no, no,
I'm like making it to where we have to.
10,000 total for the event. For the event. And so I just want to clear that up because I know it seems like everything's out of whack, which just,
Well, it sounded that way at the meeting.
no, and I don't disagree. I did not agree with 100% of all the comments on both sides or all sides. But we're here and we're trying to move forward, and I think that this is an opportunity to move forward.
And that's why we.
I have a question. When we had the last Young Women's Commission, okay, we had used our money, we were going to use our money to give each girl a $200 scholarship. I want to know where the status of that is. Was it ever given to the girls?
If it was what?
Each girl was supposed to read $200 or $150.
When was this?
When we had the last Young Women's Commission.
When
And
was
we
this?
raised the money through our funds. It wasn't city funds, it was our money that had been raised.
What year was it? I don't
When
know.
was the last year we had it?
Not last year,
But didn't
the
you,
year
weren't you
before.
in charge of that?
Yeah, well, I was gonna answer. I mean, I'm only gonna tell you what I know you're referring to, which I agree. We had that reserve money for all the recipients for the scholarships, and they were notified and the checks were made. However, not all of them went to pick up their money. It wasn't dispersed, so those checks were returned to the city. The point is, where is that money? Because that was raised by us and it was restricted, assigned by us, so it would fall under our budget for scholarship. It was for scholarship.
How much money was it, do you all know?
$100 each.
The scholarships were
Well, I mean, total.
$100.
It was about $100.
I have a list of those that did not pick up their scholarship money, but
Yeah.
$100 per scholarship, I think.
How many scholarships?
Oh, 15 girls. But there were some girls
That picked it up or
that
something.
picked it up and some that did not, but guess what? We reached out as much as we could, but that really still should be their
the
money.
city-
My girl from St. Augustine was never notified of anything.
They called her we have documentation where she was
I
called.
want to see the documentation.
Well, I'll show you the
Because
telephone number.
that was the
on
thing
it.
that I'm fighting for, is because she may not need it now, she's already been in college for 2 years, let's say.
No, they always say.
Well,
But
let's
it's
do
not
this.
her, she
If-
has
if-
done the-
But it's
the
her
scholarship.
Madam Chair, maybe we can place another item on the agenda for next meeting to discuss this.
Right.
And I'll investigate what, we have. I know I don't have it.
Were
so-
the checks cashed or not,
Yeah, I don't know. And that's what I was gonna ask. We'll discuss this next meeting.
I guess with due respect, with the time frame that we're here
Yeah.
and the urgency of making sure to get a outstanding Hall of Fame event, I think we should really just stay with their
Full
agenda.
perspective.
Maybe
let's move forward.
Oh,
Yeah, we've been on this item for so long.
Yes. I was
I
gonna
have another
clarify,
meeting.
because Mr. Valdez had brought up how people have been telling the recipients, that's why we wanted to be so careful for nobody to know even when we voted on it, because if the council are the ones who have the final say. So you would have called someone and say, hey, we decided that you won. I know the city council can.
Yeah, you're
I know,
almost close.
I'm gonna say this,
Finish line.
I'm gonna say, in my office, where I work, I did hear, oh, this person got it, I said, really? Well, no, I don't know if she did or not, but, she was submitted. So some individuals, because they submit,
Yeah.
are assuming
That they're gonna
that
get
they're
it.
going to,
Well,
I don't know.
It did
what
get out.
is.
Unfortunately, we asked everyone here not to say
Right.
anything, and some of the actual people that had been nominated got back to some of the committee members, that other people had told them, so unfortunately, it's
Yes.
not what we need to
I got
be
it.
doing, we need to
Yeah,
be
I was
professional
shocked.
about what we're doing,
And
and,
unfortunately, what happens, if I may,
Yes,
Mr. They're being video recorded. So
We
you
didn't
can't-
mention any names.
We
We're very
did,
cautious.
we did, Sandra.
No.
When we were doing the
I wasn't at that
Madrina,
meeting, so I
when we
don't
were
know.
doing the
Yeah, but
Yeah,
Mrs.
that's what I
Gorski
mean.
reviews the
I had it
minutes.
here,
I
and
did.
the only thing we had was the number. I just put the
No,
number.
no, 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 when we were doing the Madrina selection, we were saying for who, did we not do that?
I volunteered for
Just a
just
minute.
Ramos, for example.
Okay, there you go,
Yes.
there you
But that
go.
was it. but that was
There you
not-
go, that's
it goes
exactly
down
what you
the line.
said the name.
But that was not the person that called.
No, no, I'm not saying that, we all did, you volunteered for somebody, I
But
volunteered
we're
for
just saying
somebody.
that moving forward, that's how we just have to be careful.
Alex did it for
because
somebody.
City council has to
Yeah, they,
participate.
I think they watched her, because everybody was volunteering for the numbers.
Ladies, we already approved item number 6, Madam Chair. Can we, or 7, can we go to item number
Yes.
8? Because
In
it's-
item number 8, at our March 4th meeting, that unfortunately you all don't have a copy of the agenda, there is a list there of the people that had volunteered for some of these assignments. So I'm gonna repeat the names so that you can jot them down on your minutes.
Okay,
It's the names of the people that are handling the invocation.
okay.
Invocation is Olga Gentry, and she already reached out to me. The next thing we need to do is select a date in June, okay? So until we have that date, I think they can confirm on some of these things. We already assigned the madrinas, and we will submit that list to all of you, so you'll know. A madrina is basically the individual that will guide the selected person, the nominee, through the whole process. There is a point where they need to go through public access because they create a nice video for them, so they'll need photographs, and they might interview them or someone that knows them. So the madrina will guide them through that process. And they've been selected. So some of the new people might want to kind of tag along so that you'll understand for next
We
year.
have 2 people that have one.
Oh, okay, I think we still have 2 people that are available, but we'll discuss that at another time. Then we have Esther Firova that was gonna get us information on the color guard. We have Sylvia Palumbo on VMT music. Alice Herrera on the plaques that we had brought from Big Bob's, and if anybody had any other options, because I think we needed 3 options, is that correct?
Only if it went up over a certain amount.
If it's over 1,000.
It was over 1,000, I don't believe it was that much.
Okay, let me ask right quick on the plaques. When we were at the city council meeting, Councilman Torres mentioned, I mean, who wants to hang a plaque on their wall? You know, it's been throughout the years that it's been a plaque or a glass, I mean, what is it that he wanted to give?
I don't understand where that comment came from.
You know,
Well, I think the committee will recommend what it is that we want to select, and that's a recommendation.
Because, I mean, it's always been, I mean, I don't know, it took me by surprise when he mentioned that, because, like, who wants to?
Yeah, I was confused.
I mean, like, who wants to hang a plaque? Well, I mean, it's an honor because it says that you're in the Hall of Fame, you know, recognizing that individual.
But Alice, maybe you can come up with other suggestions?
I can ask him, he can give me
Be more
different,
specific?
I can ask, I could get different types of things. I'll look into different and bring it before and select here, and then I guess present it to council and see what they want to give.
Yeah.
I mean, is that what we're gonna have to
Because, I mean, the plaques,
Everybody
I mean,
wanna have to
are we
do?
still going along with plaques or what is it that the council?
I like that idea of finding 3 things, like, you know, like the glass ones are real pretty in.
Because we've given a glass, we've given a
Pewter
plaque,
plate was
and we've
also-
given
Oh, the
a
pewter plate.
pewter
Oh,
tray.
that's right.
That's pretty too.
Councilmember Narvaez, remember?
The pewter
Covered the
plate.
pewter
He
plate.
donated one.
Those were nice.
Yeah, they were not.
No, he, as council member, purchased those
Yeah.
out of his
He
budget.
paid for them.
He paid for them.
But was it
So-
a
Well, it was
special
a
year or
council,
something?
budget.
like that?
No.
No, they,
No.
especially it was
Personally
before.
paid for
He paid them out of city funds, of course,
Oh.
His
discretionary
budget,
funds.
his
But
discretionary funds.
But it came from him.
Yeah.
Like, he wanted that and he paid it.
Which one were they? The ones that say
Pewter.
Laredo?
Okay, it's Laredo.
With the silver ribbon?
It didn't have the city of Laredo figure on it?
It just said Laredo.
Oh, okay.
So, and like I said, and then
Did you get one
there's
of
been
those?
different
Do
ones.
you have one?
No, mine was glass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I said, it's been glass, it's been a real pretty plaque,
And I have
and,
the Laredo.
Okay.
And somebody else bring her.
but I'll go ahead and bring
Okay,
so we can move
thank
forward.
you. And then the last assignment was myself I would help design the program. Okay, and that was all we had assigned at this time.
Who's the guest speaker, Sandra?
We had 4 people that their names had been brought up, but we had not selected a guest speaker yet.
It was, we gave 4 and we put them in order as how we felt should be asked. It was the first one to ask if they were not available, the next one, and the next one we gave 4 choices so they can be contacted and see if they were available.
Why would you take the first one first?
Well, because if they're available, it's because since we have
And I agree,
one
but I think whoever is available.
well, that's why I'm saying, we said, okay, ask this person, if they're available, that's it. That's the first choice that the cohort committee chose. And then if the second,
We were asked if anybody had any, because I put in a name. because
Yes,
they said-
we-
right, and we all agreed, ask this person first, then this person, and this person. We all agreed on the order to ask.
Right.
Well, I didn't agree, but that's okay.
Oh, well.
But that's okay, I mean, I just wanna say because.
But we need a date, yeah, but we need a date.
Now the date changed.
I thought we were to put
March
names in
30th.
there and then pick one out and say, well,
Yeah.
call this one first.
Because that was for March the
Something more
30th,
neutral.
and you have to keep in mind that the date was changed for June.
Exactly, now which
People
day
are
was
gonna
it
be
gonna
out of
be?
town.
The date has not been confirmed.
Where are we gonna have it?
And where?
Well, now we have to look around
So
because
let's
of that.
continue down the line. The madrinas were selected. Invocation, music, singing of the national anthem.
That was in
That was you, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to Dr. Villarreal about that.
Oh, she has a
It's
group right
gonna
now,
be in the
Sylvia,
summer.
that is outstanding.
Summer, but it's
That's
in
gonna
the
be in
summer.
June now.
Yeah, but these kids
See,
are
in
there for
June?
the summer, yes. I'll tell you about that group.
Okay.
Okay,
It was 3 Nixon girls, amazing.
Okay.
I heard
perfect.
on Thursday.
Thank you.
okay, great idea. Okay, and now it says programs tickets. Are we gonna need to issue tickets, Mr. Valdez?
That hasn't been clarified. I know that that was part of the consideration to make, to be able to justify giving the commission $10,000.
But I understood from the attorney that the fact that we were making it an event and that we were honoring people from the community, that was enough to justify it being, using public funds. I did
But
not.
tickets wouldn't,
No.
wouldn't that help to see how many people are coming and then, because if it's advertised,
It's
it's
open
open to
to
the
everybody,
public, then the
service
whole
will show
city
up.
will, I'm not saying, but you know, like, I
Well,
don't know how it works.
what's happened in the past,
Like, you know, you go to the LEA for Thanksgiving. or whatever.
what's happened in the past is that it's all funded, okay? So they give a certain amount of tickets or to the people that are being honored for their families or
Yeah.
friends to attend. And then, of course, we all get one. I don't think any of us bring a guest or anything.
No.
So I just have,
I'll
I'm
clarify
concerned
that
if you're
because I'm not
opening
really
it
sure.
up to the general public.
I think trying to make it part of the justification to get money during those comments was, well, we can give so many tickets away to different people, but who do you give them to?
But I
All my
think
friends or,
We would have
you know.
another criteria.
Yeah, no, and so that's something that
We
legal's
don't
looking
have
at
to
right
worry,
now.
we've
But the-
never had anybody,
The public
Knocking down the
purpose, I
door.
think.
Which
was
is
the-
what they asked.
Well, that was part of
Never.
it.
They
of
asked
being the
at the
public
meeting.
you
purpose,
wanna
so
fill it out, as a matter of
I'll
fact.
try to get clarification
Okay,
as soon as
thank you.
possible.
Okay.
Allison
Oh.
and Amber had a.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, instead of tickets, we can just do invitation only RSVP, list is list, but instead
Well,
of having to put like.
what I was gonna say, I mean,
No, it's not.
you have to do it, that's part of the justification to try to get funding,
When they brought it up at the meeting about invitation and giving like, I think they said something like
100
100
tickets or
tickets.
something.
I think they were looking at the one in San Antonio because they referred to that. They sell tickets as a fundraiser for scholarships. We're not allowed to fundraise. So I think the idea was that, but then they didn't tie the other component with.
Yeah, and again, there's no
Yeah.
clarity right now as far as how
Yeah.
that's gonna work, but we need to figure it out so we can justify the funding
Yeah.
as for a city purpose.
Once we select the area, I know in the past, we used to have a fundraiser. This used to be the fundraiser.
And that's
We
what-
actually sold tickets.
Yeah.
The only ones that would get a complimentary tickets was the nominee, and a family, which is like a nominee and 9 family members, a table, that's it. And then, of course, the council. Anybody else, any other family members, they had to purchase tickets.
That's probably what they.
So that's what used to be done in the past. But once we select our venue, where it's gonna be, how many is the max of seating, that's the most we can give out. You know, if it's 300 tickets, that's it, and then once we give out to the family with their table, how many tickets are available that we can share to give out to council to give out to people if they wanna do that.
And part of the criteria might be, okay, if there's 10 nominees, each one gets a table, and then maybe 2 or 3 tables for the commission, and another table for council, and then whatever's left over,
That's what I
they might, they might say, well, you know what?
Hey, I need 2 more tickets, here, give it to me.
También, that could be part of it, or they could say, whatever's left over, there's still 7 or 8 tables left, they sell the tickets, and those tickets go to just either bring down the $10,000, whatever's left over, I'm just thinking out loud. I mean, that could be a way to do it, you justify, that way nobody gets any tickets, well, Joe got 10 tickets and Alice only got, 5, and why did he get more, or whatever. And so that way, and they're sold here at utilities or whatever, that way, to try to justify, make it a public event, and people wanna go, they pay, and they don't, they don't.
That's
I'm thinking, but we haven't talked to legal about that yet.
But see,
so we're
that's why
trying to
we
figure
haven't
it out.
really asked for more money. That's why when we were at the city council meeting and they were asking us about how we're spending it, where the location is, I was like, it's because that's the amount of money we had. Those were the options that we had.
Yeah, but they're not aware of that,
Yeah.
and it's not their fault, it's
No, but my city
just,
council member, when we didn't have a budget, he's like, just tell me how much y'all need and it should be fine as long as you tell us what you're gonna have and all those kind of things, there shouldn't be a problem. And that's why when we approached him, I'm like, we were fine with what we had with the max, so that's why we had an approach to y'all. And we were trying to be reasonable because I know that them giving us money means some other organization's not gonna get some.
and then we run into other problems where people say they're gonna pay for something and they don't, and then
Yeah,
that becomes
that's
a
why
problem. And so we need, that's why we need to clear everything before money starts.
I think, I think the ticket issue does need to be clarified.
Yeah.
The ticket issue,
Yeah,
I think does need to get clarified and maybe sent to an email because of the venue.
and it depends where the venue's gonna be, if it seats more
For
people.
the speakers, that's what.
Okay, so let's move on. Decorations, is there, anyone that would like to volunteer to look at decorations for the location?
Because wouldn't that go with
It
the
actually fall under when the location, sometimes they have centerpieces that they can just lend
Okay, but
us,
somebody that would
and some of us
would look for that. Is there anybody that would like to volunteer for that?
to look for
And
venues.
volunteers for decoration? No, venue's gonna be something else.
No, that's what she's saying.
But that's what I'm trying to say, because whoever's doing the venue, who's gonna select where they're going, sometimes they have centerpieces.
Yeah.
And we don't have to work with decoration.
Okay.
Sometimes, like at the Max, we ended up having to look for Ms. Narvaez to give us flower
Then
centerpieces.
flowers and corsages for the individuals, yes ma'am.
I'll do flowers, corsages, and decorations. You can put me in charge of that.
Okay, great, Amber, thank you very much for stepping up. Okay, then location. I would like at least 3 options for the locations. Is there anybody that is interested in checking with any location?
I'd like to
Yes,
mention,
rule out.
either, ¿cómo se llama la
Nothing and
posada?
everything.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure.
For one,
No,
I
no.
know that there's,
No,
there's only a few
You're saying
places
spend
we can
money.
have.
We're so limited.
We're very
We're
limited.
very limited.
Is that
The
what they were
Country
saying?
Club is another
I
one.
guess it'll-
Very
that's
expensive.
part of
Yeah,
the
that's-
enough, or it's too far
They
away.
don't want.
There's not that other,
Yeah.
no, está muy caro, forget it. The Country Club.
Embassy Suites, somebody had mentioned Embassy Suites.
Embassy.
We held our 20th anniversary there,
You know what,
Oh,
when
those
yours is
rooms on the
big.
side, right?
because
Yeah,
they gave us, they gave us,
It was
they gave
nice,
us a-
Embassy. I mean,
we used 3 rooms.
It was
That's a
nice.
place to
That
be.
was very
Right.
nice.
And another one, another location, we need 3.
Embassy, La Posada, and
Do
Laredo.
we need the max? Because that's Laredo.
No.
They didn't want the max, so let's not bring it back.
Está muy lejos.
So La Posada, Embassy, and one more?
The ambassador.
Ambassador, where's that?
Embassy Suites.
There's another place that the schools, well, because our civic center is demolished right now, what we are using is the, but I don't know, they say it's a nice location, that's where we're gonna have our retirement.
Oh, the barn?
And the- No, it's,
Alteza.
yes, that one.
Alteza.
I don't know where, I've never been there, but they say it's very nice and very reasonable.
Where is that
By
located?
Coles?
It's on the river, it's right where city.
Riverside.
Sí.
Wait,
Sí, porque there's several of them.
When you go
Oh,
to
that's-
Gentleman's,
It will, Moneta Caesars.
you go down Wall, you got that
Caesars.
Road
And it's not
to T-Bones.
With, you go on Carlton, you go like if you're going to the food bank.
Yes.
Go down by the river.
Yes.
There's not enough parking.
No, there's not, you can go down a
You have to
hill.
go down and then te tienes que subir para arriba.
Okay, well, I'll get information on the barn.
Yeah.
Who will get information on Embassy Suites?
I can get information on NBC in La Posada.
And the country club, they won't, they may
It's
do
very
a
expensive.
deal. No, I mean, Women's City Club, we do everything.
Yeah, they do work with us.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check with the country club.
Yeah,
Okay.
they give Women's City Club a good time.
I'll do La Posada.
At this point, I
Well,
usually
that's
say,
good.
find out what the
So the
other,
next
there
thing-
are other ranks, you know, there are
So
other.
that's 4 options. Oh, and Maribel was gonna
That's
ask,
fine.
she had another
1,
option.
2, 3. Oh, that's 4, yes, ma'am.
And the ambassador.
Ambassador, can you get that information for us?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
But they already know.
More options.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's look at the date.
Do we choose that, Sandra, or the city council is gonna
No,
approve that?
we'll select it here.
We'll have a
select that
suggestion,
and
but then they,
we suggest?
and then they say yay or nay. Yeah.
Okay.
Avis.
I'll give that to you.
Okay.
Okay, we need to select a date.
June or July?
I think, Madam Chair,
Yes.
the people who are getting this information need to ask them what days in June are they available. Like, La Posada could be June
We're
5,
looking at a Sunday, correct?
Sunday, brunch.
Okay, Sunday brunch.
And it's from 11 to 2.
Is there enough time to
Yes.
have an event in
Oh, yeah.
June?
Yeah, there is.
Well, we're gonna
Yes.
do the other one.
Let's do the last 3 Sundays and let's see
And
how
also
those
to
are
advise the people and get, invite people.
You can
do
It feels very
Fast.
No.
I agree with him, but.
It has, well, I know that June 2nd, that's a lot of that's a weekend of graduation.
Yes.
So I think that's a difficult one.
So 9, 16,
the
and
last 3
23.
Sundays.
9 or 16.
16 and 23.
Not 30.
30th of June?
No, no.
Okay.
16 is Father's Day.
They don't want the last day.
So
of the month.
23.
So 16 is, it's either 9 or 23.
9 or
16 is
23.
I say
Father's
Day,
Day.
the further back.
I think we need to, 9, or June the 9th, or June
Well, I'm
the
not saying
23rd.
here, right? But
Yes,
some
those are
parts
the only
like-
2
Yeah,
days
do the
available in
function.
June.
I think the later, the latter in June, the
23rd
better,
would be
because we
best.
have more time.
23.
I would say recommend the 23rd, because it gives
Okay,
us
do
more
we need to make
time.
a motion?
I would
Go for it.
suggest.
Well, I think we need
But
to
the date.
check on the
information for Sundays or?
the location, to see what they have available.
Well, you can make a motion to approve the 23rd first, if not the
The way
9th.
we did
Yeah,
it before.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
And that way you
yes.
have official days.
I make a motion that first, we have it on June, Sunday, June the 23rd, and if for some reason the locations are not available or for whatever else that might come up, for it to be June the 9th, second option.
Good.
I second.
Okay, and in seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Okay, then we're set on that, okay.
Did you say Sunday? This is.
Yes.
Yeah, we have it on a Sunday, a brunch.
It's always been a brunch.
Okay, item number 9 on the agenda, discussion with possible action regarding the Hall of Fame candidate application criteria and any matters incident thereto. We've already discussed that, so we'll
So
move on.
so I move that we
Do we
accept the
have any?
discussion.
Do we have any
Well, we have
criteria
the-
approved already?
No,
we can work on it.
Just
We
the
are
word.
starting to
We
work.
are consulting.
Okay. I would just again suggest
we
that
have to
once,
move that the criteria be.
once you
continue to
have
work on.
any of it, if there's 6
Whatever
or
it
7
is.
considerations or categories that you're gonna
We
rate.
have that, because we're in the committee, and Diana's gonna send us an email,
Okay.
and we'll send it to you, since today's Monday, I'm sure it'll be done this week.
So we can send it to
So we-
legal.
Yeah,
Email it to legal.
but I'd like for everybody to look at it, so you all have input on it. If you agree, disagree, if not, I mean, we need to put it back
Okay,
on the
we
next
can-
agenda.
I think she was gonna send it to me, I can send it out to everybody on an email.
Email's great, so that way we don't lose time.
Yeah.
Okay, the status report on funding for LCW shirts for new members?
Yeah, I checked with legal, said,
Oh,
Whatever
well, we
reason.
appreciate you asking, but the only reason, just to clarify, the only reason why we bought shirts with the funds that they fundraised, from what I understood, because I came in at the tail end of that, was because legal specifically told them they had to
spend the
spend
money.
it,
Yeah.
and they could spend it on that. Because they had raised the money, they could use it for that.
I
Yes.
think what when I came on board with the commission, they had told me that at the end of last year was the last time
Yes,
to spend. So if you didn't spend it by last year,
Right.
it was going to general
it
fund.
basically
It was
will go
gone.
back to the general fund,
General
which
fund.
is still in this category.
For the city, we would lose it, use it or lose it.
Correct.
So they chose to get the shirt.
I mean, that doesn't preclude anybody that none of the new members
Oh,
to spend their own
Liz,
money.
if you
want
could
a shirt.
stand and show your shirt, please, I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Okay, there's two shirts that we've gotten, this is a polo, and then there's a long sleeve shirt. And they're
For more
pretty much
formal
structured the
events.
same way, and we use them for different events. So if you're interested, she can give you the information of where she got them from, but it's
Yeah,
really
because I
nice.
texted everybody.
Oh, yeah.
But they had told me that that's the location, so I went there, so they already have our logo and the colors.
Well, it's up to,
It's up to you.
unfortunately, the new members,
Yeah.
it would be
Yeah.
out of pocket,
Yeah, it's out of
unfortunately.
pocket.
We're so sorry.
Yeah, I don't like those.
I mean, I have to wear them for work already.
We have a long sleeve, we have a long.
Yeah, there's a
I
bunch.
just don't like
Okay.
it.
Okay, so then moving on, discussion with possible action regarding the city council meeting held on March 18th, 2019 and April 1st, 2019. I sent everybody the videos, and I did that because some people weren't aware of what was happening. I just wanted to basically mention that I was surprised as well. I was notified that Monday, initially, the last meeting we had, Mr. Valdez was gonna present our action plan for the council approval. And Monday, he was going in with that. He called me, I guess
Yeah,
maybe
earlier
around
on.
12 or 1, when he
Somewhere around
notified
there.
me that legal had told him it had to be someone from the commission doing a presentation because we were honest communication. Well, lo and behold, we didn't have a presentation. So, but I was willing to go up there and speak on our behalf. And when I went up there, I assumed it was going to be the action plan. I felt ambushed by Mr. Torres, unfortunately. He brought up a lot of things that he was very upset about, So obviously, he was communicating with someone. And it was upsetting to the people that were with me because we had our board there, Ms. Warwarski, Lizette, Ms. Rodriguez, I think Maribel was also there. And they were really upset because it just caught us off guard. If we had been prepared with the correct answers to his questions, that would have been wonderful. If he could have approached us as a committee and not done it in a public forum in front of city council, that would have been best. Unfortunately, that's where he chose to bring up these issues, and I know Alice mentioned that she would like to request that we invite him to one of our meetings so that we can speak to him face to face and understand why he's so concerned and what the issues are, to address them before we can get to a public forum. And especially because we're the Commission for Women. We are here trying to educate the community on professionalism and how to act accordingly as women. In Laredo, it's a man's world, and women have made a lot of strides. But as a Commission for Women, I would hope that we would be able to work together as a commission. And I will stress this to all of you. When we vote on things here, not everybody gets their way. Some of us may have a different opinion. Some of us may want to do things a different way. I understand. You can always communicate with your council member. But when we vote on something, majority rules. It happens at council. Not every council member gets their way. But they don't go in to sabotage the commission. And unfortunately, that's how I felt, and that's how some of us felt. So I think they have very good intentions, and I think they're trying to help us. But unfortunately, they feel that we're broken.
The council.
Council members feel that our commission is broken, and that we're not communicating well, and that we're not discussing well, and that we're not conducting professional meetings.
And then we're misspending funds.
Misspending funds.
organized.
And we're not organized. So unfortunately, that is now, Ms. Dolores, as you've voiced yourself, it's embarrassing, and we look really bad in the public. That is not the case. I think we're an amazing group of women. I think from the history of some of you that have been here for many, many years, I feel honored to be part of this group. This is just my second year, but I think we have all been able to work through a lot of issues that have come up in the past. When I was asked to work with people, I worked, and I was very graceful, and I think everyone else should be the same. This is a professional group of women, and if we're trying to bring up our sisters, our children, our nieces to become women that people are going to take seriously in this world, we need to really work together and be as professional as possible. So that's where I am with that. I also wanted to share with Mr. Valdez that they kept referring to the commission in San Antonio, and when I sent out the email to ask what they were basing it on, I just wanted to mention that there is a commission that the San Antonio has, and it's called the Status of Women. And that commission basically does what this commission does, except for the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is handled by a nonprofit association.
Oh, really?
So it's completely separate from their commission. The commission doesn't even handle anything with the Hall of Fame. So they're two different entities, and hopefully, you know, they can come up with something that brings them together, because that's our situation here. On another note, I know that one of the council members, well, two of them actually, George Algilt and Nelly Vielma, and the motion that was made for us to continue moving forward with an ordinance brought up two groups of women that we now have to consult with for the commission. One of them is a group that meets at Cultura Beer Garden, and it's called the Chicas Chingonas. So that,
That's the name of that one.
okay, I think it's a group of women that meet.
Wait a minute.
That was, I'm sorry, that's part of the motion, and that's what it's gonna be now.
Yeah. Wait, what was the motion? That you must?
Or maybe, yeah, Mr. Valdez, can you?
Yeah, let me speak on those issues. Just for the record, I've not spoken to any councilman to go discuss anything on anything. I just want to make sure that you all understand that. Unfortunately, conversations happened there, and you saw the video. At no time have I ever said that we're disorganized. I think we were just rushed because of time constraints and having council to approve. And that's something I've always said since the beginning. And so, and lack of quorum for several meetings, and thankfully now we have a bigger group, and I think we have 2 vacancies. And hopefully they're gonna be approved, 2 more persons for the next meeting. So we should have a full house now.
Mr. Valdez, if I may interrupt, when you mentioned that you've never mentioned that we have been disorganized, it was Mr. Councilman Torres that mentioned that our commission, lady, the Laredo Commission for Women, were very disorganized. I didn't.
No, I understand. I don't want people to think,
I never meant
I'm saying
you.
so.
What was the motion?
Okay, I think we should
And-
What was the motion?
And the motion was basically to instruct staff to create an ordinance to address the structure of the Hall of Fame, the event itself, to include criteria on how to
Which makes sense.
grade and select the applicants, the people being considered, and create categories. Basically, I think they're gonna go off of this. And then from there, whatever the input they can put in, and again, the criteria that the group is gonna create. As far as San Antonio, I'm not familiar with any of that. In fact, I talked to the attorney today, this afternoon. He came over and asked me if I knew of the San Antonio thing, and I said, no, I don't know what that was referenced. But he did have an open records request for San Antonio. I know you emailed me requesting information that I don't know anything, or we don't have that ordinance. I know he's looking into that. I think they've looked at the state, what the state has in general. They have a commission, but he said it's not very, not structured, but it's not detailed. It's kind of general.
That's what we based ourselves on.
And so he says, well, we're gonna look at San Antonio, we're gonna look at other cities, and we're gonna try to combine a little bit of everything, and come up with something that, we can present to council. As far as the 2 organizations, 2 groups, it was just said, the more public,
What was the other group?
They didn't, I asked Tiffany
It
because
was
I
the
didn't
group
pay
that
attention, I was
meets
still
at
writing
IBC.
chicas ching. so much
The
different.
women's forum?
Yes, the women's
Oh,
forum
okay.
that meets at IBC. Nelly Vielma was nice enough to bring up that group
Yeah, she
that.
mentioned, but I don't think she mentioned the name, but if
It's
that's
a
the name.
women's forum that meets at IBC, and
Women's
they've been
forum.
meeting monthly, and they bring guest speakers, and
Que
it's a
tienen
professional.
ayer
They will have their
de-
event this.
Yes.
So, just I guess to finish up,
Oh, I.
Hold on, can we listen to Ms. Valdez, please?
Order.
and so what the ordinance, I mean, the request was basically create this ordinance, but have more public input. And so I'm supposed to meet with these people.
Wait a minute, Ms. Brothers, excuse me. I think I understand about the, get more, I welcome more input from the outside, but isn't that why our city council selected, like,
Correct.
Mr. Martinez selected me to represent my area where I live? Isn't, so,
I don't disagree with you, I agree with you
Mr.
100%.
And then we have public comments also. I mean, they're always welcome to comment.
Well, and
You know what I
this is
mean?
where I'm going with this. They asked to get more input from the committee, the more the better, is what Councilman Alves said, which I agree. So I'm going to look for these organizations or these groups and invite them to come to the next commission meeting where we're gonna present the ordinance. And they can have all their public input here at our meeting.
Is
And if they
it only these two groups?
Those are the only two that they mentioned.
That was mentioned, that was it, that was
And
mentioned.
so, of course, these are public meetings, anyone's invited to come, any organization, any group. But that's how I'm gonna tackle this request from council. And so we're gonna ask them to come to our meeting, and once we have the ordinance ready, we'll invite them. I'm gonna go touch base, I think, with the owners of Cultura. I guess they would know who these individuals are, the persons that get together. And so they can invite them to come to our meeting whenever we're ready to present it to the commission. And I'll try to reach out to the IBC folks
What's the
too.
second
Okay.
group?
I'd like to,
Chicas más.
I have something to discuss in reference to your comment, Sandra. You keep on trying to say that there is somebody talking to Councilmember Torres, and you cannot, because we represent him, think about, are you trying to say that we said something to Councilmember Torres? So I'm gonna clarify it for the record. Two things that I discussed with Councilmember Torres: the funding and the criteria. That's it. He called me and he asked me, he saw the meeting and asked what was the criteria, and we discussed it with him. You sent us a text telling us about the meeting. We didn't even know about the meeting. We didn't even know what you were talking about. We were going back and forth in reference to that, and you said, you don't even know about it? No, we didn't know about it. The second concern was budget. He asked, how much money do you guys have to spend on this? Because, and this was after the meeting, by the way, because you had stated that, no, it was before the meeting, but you stated that we didn't have a media reception because it would cost too much money, and that wasn't the case, because IBC pays for that. It's hosted by IBC, but all I told him was what I remembered, which was $4,000, 4,000 something. He asked, is that enough? My opinion, not really, that was my opinion. That was it. I'll be more than glad to clarify any other questions you might have. But if you're going, excuse me, but if you're going to say that, I suggest you pick up the phone and call him yourself and ask him that before you state that. Maybe, I was at the meeting and I was on the other side, but I really wasn't able to hear everything. I never saw it that way, but for you to go there, I think it's disrespectful, and I think that you need to consider what you're saying, and any of those things, if you perceived it that way, to pick up the phone and call him yourself and ask him. But please, do not insinuate at any time or matter. I will not allow that, because that is false, that any information came from me as a representative, and I can speak for myself, and Sylvia can speak for herself.
Well, I never mentioned
Oh,
your
you didn't
name,
have to, you almost.
but Mr. Torres did mention Sylvia at the meeting.
No, what she's trying to say, because even when I was at the meeting, like I said, when I brought up the max and the library, there was a lot of things that he was bringing up that I knew he hadn't talked to Mr. Valdez or to our chair, because he would have known the answers. That's why I was kind of like, well, what's going on? Because he's saying, for example, why are y'all having it at the max? And we're like, that's the only option, that in the library. But what do you mean? And then he looked at Mr. Valdez, and then they clarified that.
And I told him, I
Yeah,
said, That's what we were given
Yeah, and then
directive
he's like,
to
well,
do.
y'all had all this money, and then Mr. Valdez said, no, sir, it's only this amount, and then we clarified, this is from what was fundraised, this is what we have, and that's all y'all have, and that's when I told them, we're not trying to downsize, when this year y'all didn't give us any
The
money.
budget was very tight.
Yeah, I'm like,
We didn't get an
yes.
increase, I mean, we had money, we said, well, if these are the
Yeah.
locations, we're gonna cut everything, we can barely make it if we scrape, but if we need a little bit extra money, and we talked about this, we'll go and ask them for some more
Yes.
money.
But that's why he made the motion to
Yeah.
add money
Well,
to
which is good.
increase.
It was
You know,
Mr. Rodriguez that
Yeah,
made
it
the
was my
motion.
Oh, but he had already told me that he was gonna do that. Whoever did it, I think that was a good outcome.
No, but that's what we're saying, that there was a lot of things that he was saying that I knew for a fact he hadn't reached out to Mr. Valdez or Tiffany, because they could have easily answered his questions. What I just didn't like is, a lot of the things that he brought up in public, he could have easily asked them in private, addressed it, but when you address it there in front of everybody and say that you're appalled, and he said it at least 3 times, and I was like, how are you appalled? Like, I don't know you, I just started, and I feel that you're bringing all of us down for something that doesn't even have to do with like me or the new people. Like, I feel bad, I'm like, okay, I'm here, and I'm just getting scolded. Like,
Yes, Maribel, go ahead.
I was just very surprised because I know Mr. Torres is a well
Yes,
spoken
yes.
man.
Yes.
So when the way he addressed Sandra, I was surprised, his words to her.
Well, and again,
Yes.
you know, I'm just
But,
clarifying
I
the
don't know,
record.
I still don't understand why he was so upset. He was angry.
I think you need to call him and ask him if you would like.
Well,
But,
we
I mean,
would like to
I'm just
invite him to
clarifying
the
the
meeting.
record,
Okay.
for the record.
I can volunteer to talk to Mr. Torres since I'm new, and I'll just get the story from him, and then I'll invite him to the next meeting.
And I can do that too, because he's my council member. We'll be more than glad to do that. I just was clarifying the record.
Just one last item, legal did call me that day, that's why I reached out to yourself, I was just gonna present what we had discussed, and just telling that we wanted to change it to June for X reasons. And they told me, no, it should be the commission, they should be presenting. And I say, okay, well, I didn't let anybody know, but that's why I reached out to yourself and asked if you could just call
Yeah,
them.
and this last meeting.
It was a last minute thing, it wasn't a setup or anything
Right,
like that.
well, at
They
this
have like a
last,
72-hour notice, like we're supposed to give the
Obviously, it
public
was on the
a
agenda.
No, it
notice.
was on the agenda.
But he was gonna present,
I was
at
gonna
the last
present.
minute, they tell him, no, have some of this, so that's, I mean.
Yeah, I was
he
gonna present it,
there.
yeah. I
What
was
meeting
gonna
was that, the last one that we're getting the
no,
checks?
No,
that was the one.
The
For
March.
April
the one
1.
that we were all at.
Yeah,
No,
oh,
March,
that's right.
March 18th.
The one just recently, Councilwoman Nelly Vielma did call me and tell me, you're on the agenda.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean I'm on the
But that was the
Laredo
first
Commission
And-
for
and-
Women?
Yeah.
And so
Let
I
me
ran over there
clarify that.
because I'm your representative. If we are on an agenda item, I feel I have to be there to know what's going on, what is being discussed, why are we being brought up. So Mr. Torres had brought up at the prior meeting that he was working on this ordinance and he was gonna bring it back. And I was just not informed that it was on the agenda, so I ran over there, I couldn't get a hold of Mr. Valdez because the meeting had already started. So that's what that was about.
And I wanna apologize, cause I felt no one needed to be there, and that's why I didn't call anybody. And being your liaison, I said, all they're gonna do is give us a motion to create the ordinance, and that's it.
Just to let us know, because
Yeah.
when I get a call like that, I'm like, oh, maybe I'm supposed to be there, and I don't know, since that had just recently happened.
Yeah,
So
no,
one more
looking
item.
back, yeah, after the March situation, I can see why you would,
Yeah, because it was kind of like,
you know.
when I was there, I was
I
like,
can make a suggestion.
Yes, ma'am.
If we're on a commission like this representing the city,
Yes.
every single one of us should look at the postings
And the
of
agendas,
city council
yeah.
meetings.
Right.
They're posted beforehand. If you're representing any
But
part,
from
we
here
could
on out,
look at
I'll
all
make sure
the-
you all get at least an email
Yeah,
notice.
if we're on it.
If you're on it.
Get the.
And again,
email us.
it was something simple that I said, I'll just take care of it, it's not a big deal.
And very quickly, I want to mention on the media reception, the reason why we were going to cancel it this year was because when we do the media reception, that's when we notify everybody that's been selected. This year is the first year that council's requiring that we do it at city council, so it's coming out in public at that point.
So it's a, like an announcement.
It's already there.
Can we turn that?
So when we do a media reception, we usually have a guest speaker and we have, I just think it's redundant and I think it takes away from the actual event. So I feel we should focus our energy on having a really nice event instead of having a media reception and then a month later have the event.
And actually, it was because we were having to present to council and we were not meeting quorum. And because we never, because that is the importance of always being present. When we don't meet quorum, that delays everything in order to approve things to go before council.
And we need
And that
time.
was, and that was notified. I think I made that motion back in December saying if we don't meet quorum in January or February, let's go forward with this. And I think, because we, that was the, we had a quorum back then.
Correct.
And then and sure enough, the next meeting, no quorum.
Yeah, we didn't know.
You know, so those were the reasons that.
Time was of
we-
essence.
Yes, it was. And I still think it would still be, because we've done a successful event. We have been in this constraint
We
before.
had, that's when we
We've been
went,
here before.
I mean, Maribel, we had the menus, we had everything.
Everything was ready to go.
But, you know, it was, yeah, we could have, and,
Yeah, it
you
was
know,
nice.
these ladies, you know, that started hearing it, that they got nominated and all that, you know, unfortunately, you know, some called me and said, I heard they didn't want me. I heard that they were trying to remove me. And it's like, I'm sorry, you were misinformed. So I did say, you know, you can look at the meeting, we have it visualized, and you were not deleted, you were not, you know, that call came to me. And, but it's because of the fact that it was discussed prior to council.
Mr. Valdez, just to clarify, not even for the reception, they're gonna get information, but council's gonna decide where we're having it, right? So even if we decided here?
No.
I just wanted to clarify, because that's what I felt that they were kind of like,
Telling us where
if
to
you
have
could just
to.
ask, just to
I'll
clarify,
clarify that.
because
Okay.
then that would take us a step back.
A couple of questions and they can respond to.
On the media reception. One of the things that we used to
Clarify.
do, and I've been on it for 15 years, one of the things we used to do is we used to have the media reception, and it was a way of showcasing the ladies that were gonna be honored. And then we sold tickets to attend the function.
Yeah, that was the purpose.
That was
Well,
the whole
let's see what
purpose.
they wanna do this year
Yeah,
as
please,
far as
clarify, because I have a feeling, from what I got at the meeting, that they want to have the final word on where it's at.
Well, that's
But
the
that's why I just
understanding
wanted to
right now, but
clarify.
I go back and look.
Yeah,
I
just
have to
We're
go
never
back
gonna
and-
get anything done that way. I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, I think with the ordinance, and I think it was mentioned there, from what I remember, that moving forward,
Yes.
in the ordinance, it'll state that you all, if legally possible, will have the final say-so on the nominees. So that'll eliminate council, and if it is, it's just council will confirm them at the end, but really it'll be this group, the commission that will have that say-so.
And,
Officially, no.
I would like to, see if we can get on the agenda for this next meeting to go
Yeah,
ahead
yeah,
and
I'm
say.
trying to see if we can do the 10 people that are nominated,
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
Can I?
and I'll let you know,
thank you.
through an email.
I know that we have like an email, I mean, I'm sorry, a
Oh, the
text.
list is the list.
A text, no, a text group, and you know, I need people's names. There's a number, 740.
I'm in a meeting and all I hear is beep.
Yes, I don't know, and I keep saying, who is it?
740-9020, whose number is that?
Where is that
Wait, wait,
where's that list?
There's
Yeah,
a
he sent
list.
it back.
We don't want the list.
Where is
But if you're here, is that your number?
Is that your number?
here?
740-9020.
No, but it was.
It might be, it might be.
Oh, the one
We never got the list back.
Yeah, that was a game. It wasn't.
Right, yeah, that everybody was making,
I
it never got to me.
Who's 337-6947?
That will be me.
Okay, Alice. And then
Like, did
251-8382.
you have it right?
The list I passed it down.
Yeah, we don't know if
83882.
So I want Mrs. Espinosa.
That's Dolores. 251-8382.
Got it.
Tell me the first one again, Rosina.
I have 740-9020. I didn't know who.
That's Belinda Guerra.
Oh, Belinda,
Yeah.
which she's no
She's
longer.
already,
Yeah.
Belinda no venía.
So you need to remove her from the group text.
So then she's not.
no.
I think she was there, the first group text.
And Councilman called me that he was gonna replace her. I mean,
Yeah.
Mr. Emails, contact information, but I don't know if
Is there anything else, ladies?
Well, we need some new people's number, or that was going around,
Yes,
right?
that's what's going
That's
on.
gonna be sent out.
Okay, if there's no further
By
items,
mistake.
Motion.
motion
Yeah, 'cause I never.
Second to adjourn. Second.
Sylvia and Esther.
Where is the list?
709.
let me do this, I'm gonna email it to everybody tomorrow, the whole list.
Thank you.
Y'all tell me
Yes,
your number
Sylvia.
and stuff, and then email me back, please.
Yes.
Even.